Hello, and welcome to Channel of Paradigm blog, where I search into contents about how we can keep our values in life, do things the right way, without relying on shortcuts, and live a quality working life. First file of contents deals with basics of leadership, and we are in its first chapter, entitled Towards a New Paradigm. This video looks into a difference between being a leader and being a manager. To be a leader. To be a manager. When we talk about those who carry out various managerial tasks in an organization, we often equate the two terms. Basically, leadership is one of the tasks performed by a manager, and therefore comes under an umbrella term of management. But we can also talk about predominantly managerial or predominantly leadership tasks and duties, where difference between them is quite significant. Let's start with the basics to see where management happens in the overall process of directing organizations' activities. Management process, as a phrase, means a series of actions involved in performing the managerial role. An outline of this began in 1917, when Henri Fayol wrote a document originally entitled Administration industrielle et générale. Developing further from this starting point set by a aforementioned author, the management process is now considered to have four parts. Process begins with planning. Its first step is formulation of a purpose for which an organization exists and does its activities. From this emerges a statement that communicates why we work and do what we do, which is called the mission statement. Next element is second of two foundations of an organization: the vision. This statement outlines a future image of an organization. It shows where we are going, or communicates what we want to create. Last of the three fundamental elements, and last essential result of planning phase, is strategy. It communicates how we will achieve our vision, how we will realize our purpose, and how we will sustain our success. Second part of a management process is organizing. A most essential thing this involves is defining roles. Each role has working tasks, communication tasks, an area of responsibility, and an area of power. Organization of a certain company therefore defines and describes all roles, and in doing so defines relationships between them. This is what constitutes the so-called organizational structure. It consists of four layers. A technical layer explains what sort of work any given role has to do, and who does that role hand over its results to. A communication layer explains what, to whom, and how information is communicated or transmitted. A power or authority layer determines who decides what during the processes. And a responsibility or motivation layer determines who is held accountable for what part of those processes. Determining all this content comprehensively defines the system of work. Third part of the process is leadership. It means implementing the plans set and ensuring that organizational structure is properly implemented. Leading thus requires organizational knowledge. As leader needs a good grasp on those elements, it also means creating the necessary understanding of those elements among all members, and ensuring that objectives defined are being followed. Day-to-day leadership is therefore mostly about working with people, and good quality work in performing that role requires skills in working with people. It is important to know those who you are leading, to be aware of what motivates them, what talents they have, how they think, what values and beliefs guide them, and so on. As we will see in future articles, a leader helps followers to grow personally and professionally, and to achieve their work goals. Managerial process is completed by fourth part, which is control. Term used is rather traditional, as it is well known that the exercise of control can have a negative impact on motivation and creativity at work. An essence of this task is to provide feedback that enables good performance of an organization and its parts, and enables everyone to correct or adjust their performance, if such necessity is found. Whereas in a traditional organization, this flow of information is largely filled by commands. In an agile organization, we are moving more towards providing information, or even simply establishing the channels through which information will then flow, on the basis of which an individual or a department can make the necessary corrections. You can see from content presented that a role, to lead, is in fact quite specific. It is about implementing what we have planned and organized, through working with people. This is what organizations need from a leader, or from leadership as an organizational role. Leadership is in its essence about working with people. It requires softer skills in psychosocial area, and in building and nurturing relationships, in communication, and so forth. To use a metaphor, the leader is often referred to as a soul of a given community. A manager, on the other hand, is in that sense referred to as a head. One who conceives a whole system by which an organization will operate. He or she has to figure out what objectives are needed, what way of working, what values should be emphasized and rewarded, and so on. A manager is an analyst who, on the basis of information, and by playing out various possible challenges, draws up the rules of the game for a given system, and therefore creates a platform on which everyone will then perform and do their work. In this recording, we have made an important distinction between the two roles. It matters because it points to two parts that are very different from each other. On the one hand, rationality, and on the other, humanity. Both make a specific contribution, and both are indispensable to the organization.